Children of I want to talk to your manager parents. What has been your most embarrassing experience? One time my granddad got a sausage roll at a football match during halftime. When he got back to his seat he found it was overdone. The pastry was quite burned. The man was irate. He didn't take it back straight away as the second half was about to start, but he spent much of the second half angrily lamenting his savory snack letdown. So he takes it home, calls the customer service number on the back. I assume he had a few choice words for the poor soul on the other end, but I wasn't present for this, and keeps the remainder of the sausage roll in the freezer for the next couple of weeks. Skip ahead to the next match day. My granddad tells me we're heading out early so he can have his sausage roll replaced. The customer service line told him to go to kiosk 3 at the front of the ground next to the ticket office. When we arrive, however, the shutters are down at the food place. The old man looks around growling and turning red in the face, stamps right over to window number 3 of the ticket office and slams his frozen burnt sausage roll down like a fucking flaky gauntlet. At this point I'm trying to convince him the ticket office was a completely different department to the catering concession, but my granddad was having none of it. The lady working the ticket window continually attempted in vain to convince him the same. They sell match tickets, not hot snacks, but this just got him angrier and angrier. Across comes a colleague behind the glass. Now there's just 2 people to rage at. Then a head steward comes to attempt to defuse the situation and my granddad begins to wave the burnt sausage roll in this man's face. I was actually surprised he didn't whack him with it. At this point I'm mortified by the whole affair, wishing I'd have stayed back at the house until nearer kickoff. Eventually, after an hour or so, the shutters come up on the food concession. Fella at the counter goes, "You must be Mr. Alaginge," and calmly resolves the situation, dispatching a freshly baked sausage roll with the steady hands of a surgeon. My granddad is completely satisfied with the result of his hour of insolent rage. As we're walking away he turns to me and says, "That's how you get these things sorted." I was 13 when this happened. My mom had made a reservation at a hotel for a trip, but when she got there the lady said there was some error with the reservation and that my mom's payment didn't go through, so the lady offered us a double bedroom for a discount. Rather than just taking the room, thanking the lady, and leaving, my mom decided the best course of action would be to scream, in the middle of a hotel lobby, "Nobody is going anywhere till I get my fucking room." She then proceeded to pester the lady, who clearly couldn't do anything about it, until eventually she called the police on my mom for public disturbance. Mortifying. Not my parent but a grandparent. When I was around 10 years old my grandmother went out and got us, her, my brother, and me, McDonald's. We got home and we didn't have napkins in the bags. No big deal, right? We have paper towels and napkins in the house. Also me and my brother are pretty good with not making any messes while we eat. Nope. Grandmother got us in the car, drove back to McDonald's, demanded a manager, and screeched about how upset she was that we didn't get any napkins. I wanted to just melt into the floor and disappear. It's just napkins, nanny. When I was a young child on a long distance flight my mother let me and my brother sleep on the floor. For safety reasons the flight attendants told my mother that we were not allowed to sleep on the floor. She started to argue with the flight attendants who then turned to the pilots. The pilots threatened to turn the plane around unless we get up from the floor, but she continued to argue. The pilots announced they were about to turn around because of my mother, so all the passengers got pissed. Eventually she caved in when she had all passengers and flight crew on a Boeing 747 against her. There really is an art to stuff like this and your mom obviously doesn't have it. You can be mad, just don't be rude. I remember a time we were on a Vegas trip with extended family. Cousin was having a super trashy wedding there, and my aunt and uncle booked a room in the Luxor, non-smoking. They were given their room key. It was a smoking room. My aunt was pissed, but with all her fury she spun up some charm as well and they were upgraded to one of those rooms that were less rooms and more like 3-bedroom apartment. You gotta not be a dick when you're mad and people will give you everything to make their mistake go away. When I was a manager at McDonald's I had a guy do this. We had a freak rush on chicken nuggets, like 520 pieces in a row. The customer pulls to the window. The cashier let him know it was going to be another 3 minutes for his nuggets and did he want to wait or get something else. He demands to speak with the manager. He says that he has been waiting 5 minutes already and he isn't going to pay or move until his food is ready. I said that I needed him to pay and pull forward in order to clear the drive-thru. He refused and said they'll have to wait. I went to the back window, put a drawer in and we started cashing and giving the food out there. 20 minutes later, fuming customer at the front window begins pounding on the window. I open it and he screams at me to know where his food was. I told him he wasn't getting any food, he was blocking my drive-thru and impeding my business and he needed to leave or I would be calling the police. It looked like he would explode with anger, but he just screeched out of there. It was the most satisfying interaction with an entitled customer I had while working at McDonald's. Years later, I do slightly regret this. I worry I needlessly angered someone to the point where he could have taken it out on someone else, i.e. kids or wife. We had someone try to order 100 double cheeseburgers through the drive-thru when I worked at a fast food place. They were angry when they were asked to pull around the front, park, and come inside. They seriously thought we'd either have 100 double cheeseburgers laying around just for them, or that we'd be able to make them in under 3 minutes. This was in a town of less than 5,000 people. My dad just loved to argue, and he loved a deal. We were shopping in a department store, and I found a pair of pants I was mildly interested in. The pants were tagged at, let's say, $40, and the sign on the rack was all pants $25. I was mildly interested. I asked the sales clerk if they had them in my size. The clerk said those aren't supposed to be on that rack. My dad lost his shit and insisted on getting the pants for $25, and started asking for a courtesy discount on top of that. Escalated to the floor manager and the store manager. Meanwhile, I didn't want the pants. They were okay pants I guess, nothing awesome. I just didn't care very much about them. I was more than happy to move on. I told my dad I didn't want the pants. By then he didn't care about what I wanted. He wanted the pants at the better price. Eventually after like an hour of arguing the store manager said we're not giving you the pants at that price. Take them or leave them at $40. So we left them. Which suited me just fine, because I didn't want the pants. Not me, but my sister-in-law. Her stepdad and mom took the family out to eat at a Red Lobster. They get there and it is super busy. So the stepdad walks up to the host and says yes, we have a reservation. The problem is, Red Lobster, or at least that one, doesn't take reservations. The host explains this and says it is going to be 20 minutes wait for seating. Her stepdad flipped out and started screaming that he had called 3 hours beforehand and made a reservation. The host politely told him this was not possible as they do not take reservations. Again, he continues to scream at the guy and says he wants to talk to a manager. So the manager comes out and she tells him the same thing. They don't take reservations, so it's not possible that he had made one. He continues to cause a scene and people started leaving just to get away from this toxic guy. Finally, the manager says, fine, we will put you ahead of everyone else that has been patiently waiting their turn. He says thank you. They get seated. Once they get to the table and the waitress walks away, he slyly winks and says to my brother and the rest of the family that is how you get things done. I wasn't going to wait 20 minutes. My brother refused to eat or order for fear of getting food that had been spit on. Grocery store had this sign up that said if an item rang up higher than an advertised price it was free. It was the 80s and stores did stupid shit like this that I never see in stores today. Mom was buying a box of Little Debbie cakes and they rang up for $2.85 instead of the advertised $2.50. So now mom wants her free cakes. Cashier doesn't know what to do, summons a manager. Manager tells her to ring up the sale otherwise and he'll be right back. Comes back and hands my mother 35 cents cheerfully and says there you go. My mother points out the sign behind him and he says oh, the last manager put that up, it doesn't make any sense. I'm the new manager and I just haven't had the sign removed yet. It was a printed plastic sign that was screwed into the wall. Mom insists they honor their sign. He says Now, up to this point, I as an adult looking back am totally on board with mom's actions. Mom gathers her things, decides against taking the Little Debbies on principle, and we get in the car. Mom wordlessly drives downtown to the main store of this 3-5 store chain, knowing the office is next door. We walk into this perfectly 80s wood paneled office where my mother asks the secretary to speak to the owner of the store and is permitted to do so since this is a family owned business and their corporate office is smaller than the row of cubicles my staff occupy at work. Here my mother unleashes a tirade about how she has lost faith in his brand and how his word is meaningless since they will not honor the sign, etc. This guy stands up, profusely apologizes, validates her anger and then pulls out his wallet and hands her a $5 bill along with a promise that he will speak to the manager and the sign will either be honored or removed. We get home and find that the ice cream we bought melted in the trunk because summer and ruined the cereal and the bread. Thank you for watching. Subscribe for more videos.